Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to a new series I want to start called, a quick tip. It's exactly what it says it is. It's a quick tip about how to get better at whatever I'm talking about. This episode, I'm going to be talking about Minecraft PvP, specifically the fishing rod, and a little tip that not many people know, I don't think. So, let's get into it. Now, today's episode is about the Duels game mode, and, that's where most of the PvP on Hypixel happens, here in the Duels lobby. There's 5,000 players currently playing Duels right now, and Bed Wars kind of beats that out a little bit, but, Duels is a little more PvP oriented than Bed Wars in my opinion, so we're going to be talking about that. Anyways, today's episode is about the fishing rod, and we are going to be talking about what the fishing rod is used for, and this little tip that I want to share with everyone that not many people know. So, firstly, I think the best way to practice fishing rod, a lot of people say UHC, but I actually say Classic Duels, because it's more fishing rod oriented. So, if you go to Solo Duels, you can go to Classic Duel, 1v1 right here. This is Classic, or you can just go over here and click on Classic Duels. It works the same. I tend to click on that guy. But anyway, here we are in our first game. And, you gotta wait for the timer to go down. I'm sure you know how Duels works, you just fight. That's kind of the whole thing, but, if you can't tell already, I play with my scroll wheel, which a lot of people say is not a good idea, but because I'm so used to it, this is just how I play. And it's kind of the norm for me. So, essentially, the fishing rod, I'm sure you know how the fishing rod works. It's basically just hit stun. It's all it's used for. And, for whatever reason, I'm not able to get many good hits on this guy, until now. And, yeah, you're supposed to hit the fishing rod. It starts up good combos usually, and hopefully you can get something out of that, like a victory, of course. So I'm sure you all know how the rod works. You just throw it out, it hits your opponent, it does a little bit of knockback, and you can get combos out of it. So of course, how do you use the rod properly, and what's this little tip I'm gonna give you? Well, I'm hopefully about to show it off. If I can hit this guy with the rod. There you go. Alright, so you can see getting, there's a difference between combos and then rod combos, which is what I like to call them. And although it's not the tip for today, it is something you definitely need to know. Rod combos are essentially when you hit someone with your rod twice consecutively, or 3 times, or however many times they get stuck in a rod, and then they can't move. See, like that. I just used, literally every object I had in my disposal to kill that guy. So let's show off the tip for today, and I'm sure you've heard of the word Debounce Time. If you're a Minecraft PvPer or Bridger or anything like that, I'm sure you've heard of the word Debounce Time, and it's something that usually comes out of your mouse, and your Debounce Time is how fast your mouse can register your clicks. And I guess, in a way, that's what the Debounce Time is for the rod. Debounce Time, of course, that's my own term. I don't know if this has a term, but Debounce Time is essentially the amount of time that you have before you can hit someone again. Now, what do I mean by that? That's a very, very broad term, because there's already something like debounce time or cooldown time when you're using a sword. If you're clicking way too fast, you can't, hit anyone as fast as you're clicking unless you're playing combo duels, where the, time where you can hit someone has been taken down a bit. But, debounce time for the rod is essentially, when you throw your rod and then you hit someone, their rod cannot hit someone for a short amount of time before you can hit them again, which means sometimes you can drop rod combos if you're swinging too fast or you're too close to someone. You can see I got a 3 out of that because he was moving backwards, but I got a 2 out of that too because I was waiting. So essentially, debounce time is super easy to master as long as you can aim your rod, and then once you get that timing down, it's perfectly fine. Now, debounce time is not the difficult part of the rod to understand. The difficult part of the rod to understand is aiming. Aiming is very tough with the rod, because if it's it's floaty, it's weird, you can barely see your, well, I mean, it could just be with my texture pack, but you can barely see the bobber at the end, which is the part that actually hits your opponent. So, how do you learn rod? How do you learn to aim with the rod? Well, I mean, the more you play the game, the more you start to know what you're doing. And, of course, as I said, Classic Duels being the most, or probably the best thing in my opinion to practice rod with. Classic Duels is just a great way. If you're a little bored, you can just come hang out in the Classic lobby and then, start showing off your rod skill on people. And, It's fun. It's nice. But it's not the amount of fun you have playing with a rod than like the actual skill you have. Because then once you get that skill down and mastered, you get to have the fun with it. So basically, when you're fighting someone, you need to know how fast your rod travels, and then like where your opponent's gonna go. So you have to read your opponent's movements, and then you have to like throw out your rod. And it sounds like a lot, and I'm gonna lose this match. Oh, never mind. I'm good. That was such a good shot. Nice, bro. Anyway, we're having a rematch because of how close that was. But, yeah. Essentially, with the rod, you have to predict your opponent's movements. I'm going to try to show that off best I can. It's also good for, you know, dodging. You have to predict your opponent's movements and, you know, keep in track with the amount of time that the rod takes to get to your opponent. And that's how you estimate where your rod is going to hit. So, like, if I see my opponent moving this way, I should aim that way, and that's what hits him. If he's moving the other way, I should aim pretty much that exact distance the other way. And, you know, if he's doing, like, small strafes, I could just aim, like, where he is right now, because it's not like he's going to be able to dodge it. You can also anticipate knockback with it, which is very, very good. Is, like, knockback anticipation, because, like, I'm sorry, I'm focusing a lot. This guy's tough. But, oh wait, I'm low. I'm so low. Oh, come on. It sounds like a whole lot. Learning where your rod's gonna go, how fast it travels, where your opponent's gonna go, how to predict knockback, all kinds of stuff like that. You kind of just learn. It just becomes muscle memory when you're playing. Like, it might be different for different servers because of your connection or where they're located, or, you know, where you are in the world. But, like, you get used to it eventually because you know how the game works. After learning all that, it just becomes like the palm of your hand. You start learning exactly like what it is, and it's really not that difficult to get the hang of after a while. But you know, the more you do it, of course, it's more practice makes you better at what you're doing, which, you know, it's just a lesson for like anything really. Is he really on 0.4? Please. All right. Now he's on. Please let me end this. Thank you. So what I was saying, you get to learn how the rod works, or how the bow works, or how the sword works, or how movement works, or anything like that. It's just learning. You this tip, you know, rod debounce time is just, you know, like the debounce time. Wow, I just got hit by fire. That's embarrassing. But you know, it's like now that you have debounce time in mind, it's not going to be nearly as hard after you learn how to start timing your rod and your left clicks and stuff like that. And not your left clicks, right clicks and all that. And now you know like exactly when to hit, exactly when to rod and all that. You just learn it eventually. I can't really give any direct tips for that for the learning process of the rod or the sword or the bow or anything like that. But you just need to learn what you're comfortable with, and then after that, you start playing the game, and, you know, you just get used to it. That's kind of my only tip for that, but I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a really little short one, but, you know, just now that you've got debounce time in mind, it should be good to, like, you know, you should be good to, like, practice rod, and you should be able to learn it faster. And if you already knew all this, that's cool. You don't have to care. Whoa! Oh! Jesus! What? Anyways, you've reached the end of the video. Good job actually watching my content. That's awesome. If you did enjoy this video, please consider subscribing, especially if you learned something from this. I'm glad you got to learn something, because, you know, it's kind of cool, I guess. Now you know about debounce time. I don't even know if I mentioned it, but the debounce time for the rod is approximately half a second. So, if you are holding down rod like this guy is, don't do that. That's stupid. You want to aim your rod. You want to aim. Also, I just got hit by fire. Oh my god. Terrible. Terrible Minecraft PvP. If you enjoyed this video and, you know, liked it, consider actually liking the video physically and mentally. And maybe subscribing as well. That'd be really cool. And I'll thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. But before we go for the outro, I am going to, real quick, just record a little duel. Hopefully, if this guy wants to move. Okay, never mind. He is moving now.